What's good, everybody? Welcome to Andre the Podcast. I'm Andre Lacey. I hope you're having a great day so far. This week's episode is a little different and honestly a little special. This marks our 30th episode, and it's also a milestone moment for Season 3, our first season going into national syndication. That's something I don't take lightly at all. So instead of jumping into something new this week, I wanted to pause, reflect, and look back at a few of the most meaningful and talked about conversations we've had so far this season. Conversations that stuck with me, and judging by the messages, stuck with a lot of you as well. These are the moments that remind me why this show exists. Let's take a look back. At the beginning of this season, we kicked things off with a conversation that was honest, necessary, and long overdue. Our men's mental health roundtable featured Johnny Hill and BJ Gibbs, and we spent time unpacking the emotional and psychological challenges that men face, especially Black men, who so often suffer in silence. We talked about the stigma surrounding mental health in the Black community, the pressure to be strong, the fear of being seen as weak, and how all of that can keep men from seeking counseling, support, and even admitting that something isn't right. What stood out to me most about this conversation was how real it was. No performative toughness, just honesty. Here's a look back at this powerful conversation. Take a listen.
Really, bro, what's kept me strong, bro, is being vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm super young, but sometimes I forget that. Like, I just turned 23 a few days ago, and so and me be so young for me to have, all the responsibilities that I do have that are given to me at such an early age. I know God didn't make mistakes, and so I had to realize that there's no reason for me to do this alone. Like it takes a village, with my family, with my job, my friends. It's just everything trying to balance everything. And there's no reason for me to try to put it all on my shoulders. And that's what I used to do, and the thing that helped me out the most is saying those three magic words to my mom's one day. I was like, I need help. You know what I'm saying? Like as simple as that, I need help. And that took me so far. I used to feel like you're saying, Andre, like I feel as if I shouldn't need help. You know, a lot of times, I feel like in the Black community, we sometimes always has this, oh, somebody always had the worst mentality, and that may be true. That's not saying, that that's not true, but everybody has their own battles, their day to days. Everybody I feel like needs something, no matter how rich you are, no matter how happy one part of your life is. Everybody feels like they're missing something, and it's not a bad thing. I used to try to cope with these different emotions and try to hide them or whatever, but they ain't going nowhere until you address them. I felt like when I moved to Memphis and everything from Arkansas that the problems that I had in Arkansas were just gonna go away just because I went across the bridge, but that wasn't the case at all. This it's gonna catch you one way or another. You may think that it's gone, but I used to have to ask myself like, yo, BJ, like, is you happy or are you distracted from sadness? You know what I'm saying? And so until I became really content with a whole lot of things and I've grown a lot and allow people to kind of come into my life that want to be there and want to support me, that took me so far, bro. So for anybody at all who's contemplating asking for help, it doesn't have to be just a therapist. Because some people think, oh, I got the money to do so. Not all therapists have that title of a doctorate or a PhD. I know we have each other. I know I can call Johnny, call Andre, and be like, hey, bro, it's a lot going on. Can I speak to you for 10, 15 minutes? And that 10, 15 minutes can last however long I need it to be. It can be, 2 hours if I need it to be, but I know I can call on people and have those people be my therapist. For me, if that just don't work for you sometimes, I start writing in journals, and start opening my prayer book, writing in there every single day and kind of just releasing it somehow, some way. But man, don't let that stuff build up, man. It ain't healthy.
Being in Detroit alone, no family, no friends. Well, I have a small amount of friends. I won't say no friends at all. But adjusting yourself, right? When something goes left, like not being employed, not doing nothing, and your rent is still due, you have a chance of being homeless. And that thought start pivoting from, oh man, I want to be in my field to I need to get a job, any job, so I can pay my bills. And it get real quick. And it get hard for me. And I do still ask God for help of me expressing myself. Like really asking people, man, God help me like to express myself to people, because I never I'm not used to being vulnerable with people. You know what I'm saying? Unless like we really become real close. Like I trust BJ, I trust Andre. Like I can trust. Like I can call y'all. But a lot of times, how I be feeling, sometimes I don't want to put my burden or on somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And that's a hard thing I still struggle with. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times I had to get out. My brother, I call him my brother, but like we've been close ever since we was young. Isaiah, I tell Zay all the time, I'm like, man, bro, I need just a convo, bro, just to chop it up, because he like, man, you're gonna be good despite what happened. You're gonna be fine, and that's hard to say in the while you're going through something. You're gonna be fine, and like I had that talk too, man. I need help, man. Like I don't know what's going on, but it's easy. It's so easy to be in your head and not want help. But like BJ said, if you don't ask for help, it's gonna come back in another way, another form. You might one day just snap. You might one day just cry. You might one day just be like, bro, I don't know what's going on. But it's gonna come out if you like it or not.
That conversation still sits with me because the truth is, checking on your mental health isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And the more we normalize those conversations, the more lives we create a space to save. I'm happy to announce that since then, things have been up and brighter for Johnny and BJ in their personal lives and in their careers. Congratulations, brothers. I'm rooting for you and I'm so very proud of you both. Now, moving on. Another conversation this season that sparked a lot of feedback was our discussion on money and financial planning with KD Richardson. Money is one of those topics everyone deals with, but not everyone feels comfortable talking about it. We discussed the importance of money management, building a strong financial foundation, and maybe, most importantly, practical strategies for avoiding and managing debt without becoming overwhelmed. What I appreciated about this conversation was how approachable it felt. No judgment, no unrealistic expectations, just real tools for real life. Let's take a moment and revisit part of that conversation.
Really wanting to change your situation, you know what I'm saying, change your circumstances. And that could be a really great motivator to really want to, get that education to really learn what is planning for me financially. And really it's a little bit, it takes a little bit of unselfishness as well, because when you think about planning for your finances, that is bigger than you, especially when you talk about generational wealth. Generational wealth is something that it's really saying once I leave, I want to leave an inheritance, and that takes unselfishness to even put yourself in that mindset. So I would say really you have to be very careful, because it's a lot of schemes and scams going around. Of course, with anything, but I would say find you a few books, read through it. You may find some things that you agree with it, or you may not agree with, and based upon that, I would just say find you a really good financial professional to just have a meeting with. A lot of people are they shy away from just having a meeting because they think, oh, I got a obligation or I got to pay or something like that. But just find you a good financial professional and use broker check, do your research and find them on broker check. A lot of people may or may not have heard about that, but you can look up the financial professional by their name or their number. and you can basically make sure that they're legit. Have a meeting with them, and before the meeting, just say, "Look, I just really want to learn how you do financial planning or what you think about, financial planning." And just come into it with a pen and pad to take notes and be open-minded. Read, of course, do research, use Chat GPT, ask it questions. You know what I'm saying? It's just like anything. You kind of just gotta seek that knowledge, and it's a journey. Even for me, being a professional inside the industry, I'm forever learning every day because things change so quickly in this industry or in our world, really. But yeah, you just gotta kind of be open to receiving that knowledge.
If there's one thing that conversation reminded me of, it's that financial freedom doesn't start with perfection. It starts with awareness, intention, and small steps that add up over time. By the way, I want to let you all know I'm working on getting KD back on the show this month, so stay tuned. And lastly, one of the most important and potentially life-saving conversations we've had this season took place during National Fire Prevention Week. I was joined by Ms. Kelly Ransdell, the director of the National Fire Protection Association's Public Education Division. We talked about fire risk in today's tech-driven world, especially something most of us don't think twice about: charging our everyday devices. That could be something as simple as phones, tablets, laptops, power banks, you name it. The conversation really opened my eyes to how small habits can have serious consequences if we're not paying attention. Here's a look back at our discussion.
So we have a lot of folks that still cooking is the number one cause of home fires. Many people cook either when they're drowsy or maybe if they've had a drink, they may forget things. We also have that people are just busy and we're all very distracted. So unfortunately, cooking is still the leading cause of home fires. And as a result of that, we give people good tips about, making sure that you always supervise what you're cooking, that you have a pot lid close by if you were to be frying something. If you were to have a fire in your oven, just to turn off the oven, leave the door closed, and it will put itself out. And so those are some of the things around cooking. Unfortunately, the number one cause of home fire fatality, so that is people dying in fires, is still smoking. And so even though less people smoke, we still have a lot of fatalities from that. So if you smoke, we want to make sure that you have a way to put that out safely. You want to go outside if possible and not smoke inside. Never smoke in bed. Never smoke around medical oxygen. There's no way I can tell you to do that safely. So if you go outside, we want to make sure you have either a bucket with some sand in it. That's safe. Don't ever put it in potted plants because that mulch can actually ignite. And so we want to make sure you have a way to get rid of those cigarette butts, to wet them and make sure that they're not going to cause a fire. So unfortunately, smoking and cooking are two of our leading causes. And now, with this emerging issue of lithium-ion batteries, it really comes down to never leaving anything on a charger. If you're charging it, you want to be aware of where it is, and when it's finished charging, you want to take it out of the charger and not leave it in. And so when you talked about the folks that that people assume it's okay to leave a battery in the charger all the time or own a charger all the time, but actually that's not true. When it's fully charged, you're supposed to unplug it and take it off the charger. And so those are just some of the ways we can stay safe from the leading causes of fire.
That's one of those conversations I hope you never need, but you're glad you heard. Sometimes prevention is the difference between that could have been bad and something far worse. As we reflect on these conversations, I'm reminded that Andre the Podcast has never been about just filling airtime. It's about creating space. Space for honest conversations, space for growth, space for faith, truth, and real life. So to everyone who listens each week, to those of you who share the episodes, to those of you who send messages, comments, and words of encouragement, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for supporting what I still humbly call our little show, even as it continues to grow. Season 3 is far from over, and as we head deeper into 2026, I can promise you this: there is so much more ahead. More conversations, more voices, and more impact. As always, take care of yourselves mentally, financially, physically and spiritually. And that's our show for today. God bless you all. Be encouraged, and we'll see you next time.